Alright, ghouls and Garys, we are back with some New Vegas modding today, and man, I am genuinely excited to talk about the central mod for today's video. The mod is called Dry Wells Legion Expansion. If you're familiar with the Lonesome Road DLC, you will know that you have a major choice to make at the end, where you can decide to send some more nukes out into the world, like the good mailman you are. One of the locations that you can bomb is the Legion location of Dry Wells. Dry Wells was a town inhabited by a group known as the Twisted Hares. This is the tribe Ulysses is originally from, hence his hair and their name. You cannot go to this location in the base game without nuking it first. If you use console commands to make the location available prematurely, you'll simply fast travel into the location as if it were nuked. This leaves the town of Dry Wells to our imaginations. However, this mod fully recreates and reimagines Dry Wells as if it did exist prior to the Lonesome Road DLC. Not only does it do this, but it fully realizes this reimagining by filling it with many quests, characters, factions, and so on. Best of all, it is fully voice acted and well done at that. The writing and quest structure matches the base game very well. I want to avoid heavy spoilers as there are choices to make and bends along the way, but so many quests have optional objectives, and fulfilling them can lead to better or different outcomes, just like the base game in New Vegas. You will hear characters make mention of locations back in New Vegas like Nipton or Boulder City, as well as making mention of areas we know are relevant to Caesar's Legion. Beyond that, you can tell the mod took the liberty of understanding some key points from what we know of Legion lands. I can't stress this enough. This mod fulfills the questions meant to be posed by the Legion with safety versus freedom, the good and the bad of the Legion, and it doesn't shy away from the ugly sides of it either. Characters that live under their rule show different sides of the story New Vegas never got to show. Some are from areas that were lawless and frightening, with raiders and mutated wildlife all about, and many of them see the benefits of the Legion and the safety they can offer. Others see the bleakness in life under the Legion with minimal control or choice in their day-to-day lives. The villa in Dry Wells is such a cool and unique town, and despite looking like an oasis in the wastes, many of the inhabitants range from unenthusiastically grateful to stressed and in fear, with their lives greatly altered by the Legion's presence. While you can be very immoral and devious in this mod, you can also operate within the Legion in many different ways, perhaps as a spy for the NCR, or just seeking to lean into the softer and better half of the Legion by choosing to help it change internally. I want to note, I'm not saying that you can change the Legion into the White Knights of the Waste who are gonna do good and save everybody and get rid of slavery. I just mean, without spoiling too much, you can lean into the sides of the Legion that might be looking to create a stable society, not the war machine side of the Legion or the terrible tyrannical characters or members within it, but those who are actually looking to create some stability and use the Legion to make something in the wasteland. And the mod does this through the use of characters. It gives you characters within the Legion and their own particular motives, so while they're devoted to Caesar and they're devoted to the Legion, they still have their own lives they want to live and they want to create something for themselves. It's not all about might making right and taking over the wasteland and burning the bear and all that. They're people, just like everybody else in the wasteland, and that's what this mod does, and it complements the base game so well. There's a lot of different paths here, and I don't want to spoil them, so you'll just have to see for yourself. But I did get a bit ahead of myself, so let me explain the structure of the mod a bit more, and how it interprets what a game in Legion territory might look like. We have the town of Dry Wells, as I stated. People lived here before the Legion, different groups. So you have the Legion proper, and then there are subjects within the Legion who exist in, somewhat normal towns and are distinct from Legionnaires. In this case, the villa within Dry Wells, and then a little bit extended around there, is the town of Dry Wells. They're just people there. They're not Legionnaires. They exist under the Legion's rule. And this is largely consistent with the little we know of Legion territory from what I understand. The Legion we see in New Vegas is a war machine. They're not a nation. We only hear of their lands back in Arizona, New Mexico, and beyond. This mod brings that into the game a bit. So we have the Legion who occupies Dry Wells and holds a garrison, as well as the administration buildings to handle slavery operations and other Legion affairs. Then we have the Villa, which is home to a local population who fit the rule of Legion subjects like we discussed. There is a field being worked by a group of slaves, and a few other spots for travelers, caravans, and locals. The world is alive and moving. It's not all pretty, but these guys also aren't the orcs from the Lord of the Rings. They're a civilization full of people. Within the mod, you'll do side quests if you choose for locals of the villa, members of the Legion, and their slaves. Of course, all Legionnaires are slaves as well, but there's a specific distinction in class between military members and slaves who do menial work to support the army and Caesar's efforts. There is also a new group being introduced known as the Hunters Guild of Dry Wells, who exist on thin ice and occasionally support the Legion so as not to be destroyed and enslaved by them. All of these different groups have relationships and function within a unique ecosystem, given the Legion have such an overbearing presence. It's a seamless yet unique experience. I want to mention that this isn't a giant new location quest mod that's going to act as a quote-unquote new expansion or game-sized DLC type mod that likely ends up offering a bloated, buggy, messy experience with minimal playtesting. I think this mod's saving grace is that it stayed within the team's means and capabilities. You're also not going to end up egregiously over-leveled after you play this mod. If anything, it will give you the freedom to do a Legion-centric playthrough and level up accordingly without having to do so much of the other aspects of the game if you're looking to do a true Legion playthrough. The quests and dungeons added are concise and to the point. They feel like they could exist within the base game. You're not going to be clearing out locations with dozens upon dozens of enemies. It fills them out roughly to vanilla scale, as far as I could tell. Throughout playing, you will get to know the characters and people of Dry Wells, and even if you want to nuke the Legion, there's a town, infrastructure, slaves, and the Hunters Guild to consider. This adds so much more weight to the decision of nuking Dry Wells and Lonesome Road. You're really going to wipe out a town of people just to get at the Legion. The choice is yours, but the fact that this mod adds weight to the base game and DLCs, fleshes out the Legion, and does so in a very digestible and consistent way, blew my mind. And to put some icing on the cake, there's another mod from the same mod author, Toxic Whiteout, in development right now. I'm sure many of you know there's another place that you can nuke at the end of Lonesome Road, this time aiming at the NCR as you take out their supply line from California into the Mojave, the long Interstate 15. Just like Dry Wells in the vanilla game, you can only visit this location after destroying it in Lonesome Road. I can't wait to play this mod in due time as the quality of the Dry Wells expansion is excellent. One of my favorite mods for New Vegas, I can't recommend it enough. I think it will scratch an itch you may not have even known you had. Okay, we spent a while on that mod, but I felt it deserved it. We still have more to cover as I somehow found one of my favorite quest mods at the same time of finding one of my favorite gun mods. That's saying something because there are a lot of amazing weapon mods for New Vegas. I'll be sure to cover more in the future, but today the spotlight is for the Type 64 Standalone mod. This one's actually from a larger weapon pack from the same mod author, which I will link below, but I've only used the Standalone one so far. This weapon is amazing. Something about the animations, heavy recoil, and the way it is held for hip firing feels awesome. This thing is chunky in the best way possible. It can take quite a bit to get New Vegas' combat feeling super satisfying, but this mod does some heavy lifting in that area. The model for the gun looks exceptional and fits the universe and style of New Vegas' weaponry quite well. It uses 308 and does some heavy damage. Definitely a close to mid-range weapon. There is a version with a scope, but I preferred the base one. I found that I was able to single shot tap at a distance and then just let it rip for close-up showdowns. I think this weapon mod offers a unique feel from not only the base game but many other weapon mods, so it gets bonus points for that. I also tried out the Spas Auto Custom from the same mod author. This is another solid weapon mod, again very well animated and the model is beautiful. Both might be considered a tad overpowered by some, but this one in particular can chew through enemies up close and has minimal recoil. Let's just say if I had to pick this one or the other shotguns in the base game for practicality purposes, I would go with the Spas Auto Custom all the way. This next mod has probably been in the background of most of my videos and I just haven't mentioned it, and it's shameful on my end. Physically based vehicles replaces most of the vanilla vehicles in New Vegas with really high quality models. This is such a subtle alteration, but as you walk the many roads of New Vegas, you will realize how much of an impact such a minor mod can have. The vehicles just pop in a way that draws wonder and allure back to pre-war times, rather than just appearing as clunky or ugly husks. There's some color and a bit of life in them now, and the dents and models look so much better than the base games. To pair with that, we'll add in classic Brahmin carts, which will replace the models of the wooden carts around the wasteland for high quality models based on the classic carriers from the original Fallout games. To top it off, there are 15 different variations, keeping them looking new and fresh. This mod is a small part of an enormous project called The Chosen's Way, which aims to recreate all of Fallout 2 in 3D. Perhaps we'll cover that down the line. For now, this mod will definitely be a lock in my load order. When I saw this next mod pop up on the Nexus and read the description, I was instantly excited. Then Came the Stranger is a really unique mod for Fallout New Vegas that allows you to choose to unleash an unending enemy that tracks you down across the Mojave relentlessly. The story behind this is quite simple but interesting, as Benny and the Khans unknowingly dug up the grave of a being that long predated the courier. Now next to the grave sits a beating heart, and if you pick it up, the hunt begins. You can take the being down for a bit, but it will eventually come back and hunt you down. It will also scale with you in the name of providing a level appropriate challenge. This adds a layer of randomness and difficulty to the game, especially if the stranger attacks at the same time as other NPCs like the Powder Gangers or Deathclaws. This is the perfect creepy mod for your October mod list. Love that it's tied into the courier's grave from the Goodsprings Cemetery as well. Okay, so you know how in Skyrim just about every character in every town has a name and a role? Well, this mod brings you a little bit closer to that in New Vegas with Townie Names. This mod in its current iteration covers the base game NPCs in Goodsprings and Prim who did not have names prior. And to be clear, all it does is give them names, which adds some personality to the locations. This is a tiny ESP free mod. One argument might be, why does the courier know everyone's name before meeting them? But I think giving the NPCs names adds personality to the locations and makes them more memorable. Now keep in mind, if you use mods like the Living Desert, those NPCs will remain nameless, so you will find NPCs who have not been given a name if you use those mods. Vanilla characters will be covered. Let's round out the show with a mod that complements a Legion playthrough with consuming banned items in the presence of Legionnaires incurs a reputation penalty. Hopefully I don't need to explain this mod much further, very fitting for the base game and gives weight to a simple action. Really, this interaction should play out something like committing crimes in Skyrim with a Legion member running up to you and demanding answers or confiscation, among a speech or reputation check potentially. This lightweight mod will get you in that direction with minimal effect on your load order. Oh yeah, there's this other cool mod that makes hacking computers turn into a game of Wordle. I've heard of Wordle before, but I've never played it. I found out today that I suck at it, and it's even harder than the base game's hacking, so I'm going back to my other mod, Easy Hacking ESPless for now, but if you like Wordle, give this one a go. Alright, go ahead and check out the mod links below. Thank you for watching, thank modders for modding, and of course, shout out to the homeboy, thank Todd for todding. Till next time, ghouls and Garys.